today is October 1st. As of midnight last night or 12:01 a.m. this morning, you could legally buy marijuana in the state of Oregon. And so that, good news, I guess, to Oregonians. It became legal for medical dispensaries across Oregon to sell marijuana seeds and immature plants to anyone over the age of 21. You don't even have to have a driver's license. Excuse me, you don't even have to have a medical marijuana card. Pardon me. You just have to, be able to have a driver's license to prove your age. We're going to get to driver's licenses in just a minute. There's also an interesting series of studies that Paul Armentana, I think, from Normal, published over an alternate. This was last week. It was 5 of the latest marijuana studies that upend decades of myths and fear-mongering. Early onset pot use is not associated with adverse outcomes in adulthood. This is the first study. This was done out of the Pittsburgh School of Medicine and Rutgers University, where they looked at people who had been smoking pot for 20, 30, 40 years, started in their teen years. No adverse effect. In fact, quote, provided empirical evidence regarding the potential adverse consequences of marijuana legalization. They, this was their goal, and that's what they did. They, hey. Providing medical cannabis access reduces opioid abuses. In other words, making pot available reduces the number of people who are dying from narcotics. Pot is a frequent substitute for alcohol and other drugs. This was published in Drug and Alcohol Review. Substituting cannabis for one or more of alcohol, illicit drugs, or prescription drugs was reported by 87% of respondents. Forget the munchies. Pot consumers are less likely to be obese. Smoking pot may stimulate the appetite, but it isn't likely to make you fat, according to a study published in the journal Obesity. Researchers report that cannabis users possessed an average body mass index, BMI, of 26.8 compared to an index of 28.6 for non-users after controlling for age, gender, and other factors. Pot users possessed fewer diabetic markers than non-users. Cannabis use in the past year was associated with lower BMI, lower percentage fat mass, lower fasting insulin, and HOMA-IR, in other words, less insulin resistance. And then they actually said this. This is in the journal Obesity. Quote, cannabinoids from cannabis may be viewed as an interesting avenue for research on obesity and associated conditions. This follows on a study that was published back in 2012 in the British Medical Journal that reported that marijuana users possessed a lower prevalence of type 2 diabetes and a lower risk of contracting diabetes. And finally, despite legalization, teens who aren't using pot, but teens are not using more pot, but they're using less alcohol. That's interesting.